Cancel culture. What is this phenomenon that has Hollywood and regular people alike watching? Their P's and Q's is the topic of conversation today. But before we get into it, for those of you who are new here, my name is Ana Gil, and I am a content creator and influencer for Officially-Unofficial, as well as a pretty awesome and creative headshots photographer. Now, without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest, Amanda Funk from Funk and Jackson Group. Hello, Amanda.
Good morning, Anna. How are you?
I am doing great and super excited to learn about this phenomenon that has everybody um, very watching their P's and Q's, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, or all of Twitter,
Right?
for another term. Yeah, cancel culture has had a massive impact on individuals, businesses, big and small, major corporations, celebrities, politicians, everyone from old to young. Since about 2018, 2019, it took a last spotlight, and there may be some stuff going on in 2020 where it's not as prevalent. I'm not quite sure what the interference there would be. Uh, but it's something you need to be aware of as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a business manager, and even as an employee of businesses. You need to be aware of what cancel culture does.
That is a really good point that you bring. Before we get into it, because we have a lot to say about this, Amanda, can you give us a little introduction about yourself?
Oh, sure. That's one of my least favorite things to do is talk about myself. But my name is Amanda Funk. I'm the owner of the Funk and Jackson Group. We're a business consulting and marketing support firm located in Homer, New York. And we've been around since 2013. So we've gone the distance a little bit as far as small business is concerned. And we specifically work with small businesses to ensure they have all the pieces in place they need to build a solid foundation so their business is built for profitability and sustainability and growth.
Wow, girl, and that's your least favorite thing to
No, I like to do it. I don't like to talk about doing it. It's like saying I like to build birdhouses. No, I like to go build the birdhouses.
do?
There's a difference between telling and doing, and I prefer the doing.
Okay, okay. So, all right, so let's get back into it and why, as business owners and employees, we should be wary about this cancel culture phenomenon.
Absolutely. So, cancel culture is a double edged sword. It is a highly valuable tool in a capitalistic society to send a message to businesses or individuals or companies that you're not satisfied with their social behaviors. Whether that behavior took place 25 years ago, 50 years ago, or yesterday, it's a way the consumer can kind of, well, clap back and say, knock it off. We don't appreciate that. So when you're an individual or an employee, your comments on social media, in different outlets, and email, text, anything that can be screenshot, if it is not culturally appropriate for the moment, it is a good way to get fired because you now reflect negatively on your employer because they've hired someone with such unacceptable opinions, and they themselves are in jeopardy of losing business because of your actions.
Right. I mean, and that has happened to a lot of high profile organizations. For example, like when they write an ad that, kind of not support
Yeah,
specific.
it's a little tone deaf. It's a good word. Um, and I have to assume those people who are sitting in a conference room coming up with these ideas or these products to bring to market are so unaware of the issues that it goes to development. Rather, I would hate to believe it's an intentional mockery of any individual or group. I have to believe it's just complete social ignorance on their part that they would allow certain things to make it to market. There are
Yeah.
several brands that are guilty of this. Old Navy,
Oh my
Nike,
gosh.
who else did I write down? Starbucks,
H&M did something.
H&M,
Hmm.
Starbucks, Uncle Ben. There's Quaker Oats just changed a bunch of their information as well to try to get rid of some not pleasant icons. Aunt Jemima just went through and changed their stuff. So while these things were culturally appropriate decades ago, the current generation, the current consumer says, while I appreciate the fact you may have nostalgia for your products, they're hurtful. And you need to be aware of the consequences of those marketing ploys, because that's what they were. They were marketing ploys to sell a product. So there are consequences for actions, whether you receive them today or 25 years from now. Completely depends on where society goes as far as its intercommunications development.
And you know what? This is no different than, for example, way back in the day, right? Models used to, or actors that used to, do things that were not appropriate, but they thought that it was okay to do it. And then as they are coming up and rising and being a really good star, all of a sudden all that dirt is brought up. And it's
Correct.
something that they did way back when that is might not be relevant right
Correct.
now, but they get canceled.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my, that is a scary thing. But
Yeah.
it's also something for, say, teenagers, college students to keep in mind.
Right. This is all about the unintended consequences of growth, basically. There are people who have monetized the pain of others and had great success over the years of doing so, or use their position in society to harm others and then use their means to silence those who were harmed by them. And cancel culture rectifies that. So, say someone, this is a very common one, say someone back in the early 90s, late 80s went to a college party and they dressed up as a culture not of their own.
Mm-hmm.
That happened to Justin Trudeau out of Canada, where an image surfaced of him dressing up, for lack of a better term, as blackface in college, now impacting his professionalism. So yes, young people, once it exists digitally, it never goes away. It's always on a server somewhere.
Right. Because they
Yeah.
think that because they deleted it, I don't know, 5 seconds after. I mean, a screenshot takes less than a freaking second to take.
Exactly. And even then, the information, the actual data from the photo exists on a server somewhere, even if you've deleted it from your device.
Mm.
Because everything goes to the cloud pretty instantaneously. Everything you send, it goes from your email server to the email server for your hosting company, to the email server of the recipient, to the inbox on the computer of the recipient. So you'd have to scrub all those pathways between the two devices, which is an extensive network of computers and servers, just to get back an email. So,
It'll be much easier to just watch our P's and Q's, even though that might be hard because, say, we can be having a conversation. For example, we are now live, right? We're
right,
doing this and we're just having a conversation, and there's something that just slipped out because of all of the extra,
right,
stimulation, and all of a sudden we just blurted out, right? But it's
right.
not necessarily something that we believe in. It just freaking came out,
Exactly.
you know. So we,
Exactly.
mm-hmm,
And that's a struggle for businesses and employers. Example, New York State has a mandated sexual harassment training following the Harvey Weinstein case that every business has to complete by the end of this month.
mm.
Yes. By the way, every business has to complete a sexual harassment training by the end of the month per New York State mandate.
By the end of this month, October, we're in October, people.
October, yes. Heads up, October 31st, 2020, get your harassment training done. Just FYI, that's a thing. But in the current culture that we're in, say someone is taking that training on their computer and somebody else walks by their desk, isn't uncomfortable with the content that they are learning from, they have inadvertently sexually harassed their coworker.
Oh, this man is just.
So
Mm,
you can be attempting to mind your own business, which I will do the caveat of a lot of sexual harassment is generational,
mm,
where the older I've personally found, the older the gentleman is, the less he is aware that his words are not appropriate. Where younger guys, they just have some growing to do. And
oh.
they will learn that certain commentary, while funny in certain social situations, is not appropriate for the boardroom table.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of navigating with that. And that's where cancel culture came from. It came from people standing up and saying, hey, are you aware that this is wholly intolerable? You're not? Well, now all of us are going to tell you so you never forget.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a double edged sword. It has had some really positive impacts on society. It's also had some really scary impacts on society. So it's definitely the duplicity of the yin and the yang when it comes to cancel culture.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. It's like, is there has there been any positive to it? But you just answered it, and it's like, is there do you have an example maybe of a positive cancel
Uh,
culture?
yes, I'm going to say the Me Too movement.
Okay.
That's a large example of cancel culture. That was a collection of women and men standing up and saying, this is not acceptable. It needs to stop. I don't care what your position in the company is. You aren't entitled to treat me as a lust object, so to speak. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a human being. I am equal to you, and you may not disparage me in any manner. And the cancel culture that arose from that, some felt went too extreme,
Mm-hmm.
but it was likely because of their own discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
there are many out there that realized while I may not be a victim per se, maybe I perpetrated something at some point. Maybe
Mm.
I crossed a line. Maybe I hurt someone. And dealing with that is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
What's another good example? I have a whole bunch of good things that I wrote down on my list.
You have a lot of good things to say. You do.
Oh, well, thank you. I dotted my I's and crossed my T's on this one. Um,
It is a very tricky topic because as it is, what we were talking about, and anything could, oh my gosh, we can say something that offends, but your words are very careful. I can see how you just are watching your P's and Q's.
I am watching my P's and Q's because it's not my intent to insult or harm or upset anyone. It's purely to present information that will allow them to make informed decisions about
Mm-hmm.
their own actions in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to cast stones. I'm not here to shame or blame. Have I participated in some cancel cultures? Yes, I have. There have been restaurants that, based on the way they treated breastfeeding moms, I'm
Mm.
no longer patron.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I vote with my dollars. And that's why cancel culture is so prevalent in a capitalistic society compared to other commerces.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So, okay, so we're talking about small businesses, right? And how we can perhaps avoid or be super aware of this cancel culture,
Yeah.
right? Things that we should
Yeah.
watch out for.
Yeah. What things should we not do? Where are the little caution cones of word vomit? Um, I would say remember that your social media is just that. It's social and it's a media. It's meant to be distributed.
Mm-hmm.
You have an opinion, keep it at your kitchen table. You're well entitled to that opinion. Am I guilty of spouting off on my personal Facebook page? Yes, I am. Did I do it last week when I was told in our homeschooling group we couldn't discuss history because it was too controversial?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so cancel culture is now impacting homeschool groups where you can't discuss things like history. I'm like, I didn't realize the Trojan War was so controversial, but sure, we'll scrap that. So that's my point. When you're on social media, someone could easily screenshot my frustration and take
Right.
it completely out of context. And I have learned personally, sarcasm does not translate to text.
It does not.
It
Not
does
to text.
not.
No, it doesn't.
No. All of your words, once you put it in a digital media, are
Hmm.
translated to the tone of voice in the reader's head.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own perception.
Yes.
And they're going to interpret it based on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if someone types out, and I'm picking, my best friend always gives herself a little mantra, I love Mondays. If she types out, I love Mondays, someone can go, I love Mondays. Or someone goes, I love Mondays. It
Mm-hmm.
all depends on how the recipient is processing that information.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you do as a small business owner? Well, there are things that are worth standing up and speaking out against. Absolutely. So, define your passions, decide what hill you want to die on as a business. And if something is so important to you that you're willing to support it with your livelihood, then by all means, support it with your livelihood. Just know you will lose business from those who oppose your opinion, but you will gain business from those who support it. Unless it's completely egregious, then nobody's going to talk to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, and we cannot please anybody, everybody. We cannot please everybody. And those are the things like, that's a good point that you raised. Is like, choose your
Right,
stand by it.
right.
Know that you're not going to appease to everyone, but those who you do will stay by you. They will stand by
Yes. And
you. Mm-hmm.
also, if you are going to support a particular group or organization, do your research. While your local chapter of something may be a very positive uh, place for volunteerism and changes for the good of your community, the parent organization may not be as focused on community minded activities. They may be more focused on profit minded activities or policy minded activities.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're choosing which organizations to support, don't just look at your local chapter. Take a look at the national, take a look at the history, and do your homework. I know a lot of people are out there like, I'm too busy. I just want to put a flag up in my front yard and support my peeps. Do your research first, because a lack of research will bite you
Mm.
in the future, because something may come out. You're like, well, I didn't realize that was an element, and I would have never supported that element had I known. If
Mm-hmm.
you research, you would have known.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another point I have, is stick to what you know. As a business, stick to what you know. I'm
Yes.
not going to sit here and tell people how they should adjust their aperture settings to take photos. That would be a you conversation. But I will sit here and tell people how to best navigate different social media profiles and platforms for the biggest bang for their business buck. That's
Mm-hmm.
mine. But I'm not going to go into the politics or the personalities of those platforms unless they directly impact the overall outcome of the campaign, and if it impacts the intentions of the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Stick to what you know. And to be honest, cancel culture is going to hit all of us in one way or another at some time or another. If you grew up before 1995, you have said something offensive about someone.
And that is so scary though, because they can go in there and just dig it.
Good rule for people when they're engaging in cancel culture, because it's really easy to join the social media mob. It is, because you can just pick up the passion and run with it.
Right.
I think a good rule of thumb is, if you wouldn't harass them for their hairstyle in a certain time period, maybe not harass them for the words.
Mm.
However, if someone is still rocking a mullet and carrying flags that degrade certain parts of our social threads right now,
Mm-hmm.
that person may need some enlightenment.
Mm-hmm. So uh that is kind of like pattern of behavior, right? So we're just judging pattern of behavior at that point. Which
Yes,
yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's where cancel culture has its value, because it has woken up industry and businesses to an awareness that they are more than just the services or products they provide.
Mm-hmm.
Citizens United gave them the right to have a voice in politics, which, congratulations, now you have a voice and people are listening to what you're saying.
Mm.
So it's that double-edged sword. Be careful how you swing it.
Yep. Yep. That was a really good what was it that you said? You said choose the hill you're gonna die on?
Yes, choose the hill you're going to die on. What was it? I wrote it down because it was cute. What did he say? Obama recently said something about it. Oh, said, when you're all done casting stones, let me know where you stand. I'm paraphrasing because I wrote it down in pencil and I smudged it. So I'm paraphrasing. But basically, it's biblical. It's don't cast stones if you are not without sin. And all of us have screwed up because
Mm-hmm.
every one of us has this disease within us. It's called humanity.
Mm-hmm.
We are flawed. We are prone to mistakes. We are egotistical. We are emotional creatures. And we are bound to hurt somebody else in our past simply because they hurt us, and that was the knee-jerk reaction. Doesn't mean that they still feel that way 25 years later or even 5 minutes later.
Right. Right.
So it's going to happen. So when it does happen, be receptive of the message. Don't necessarily sit there and apologize all day, because at that point you're dealing with mob mentality and you can't apologize to a mob.
Mm-hmm.
But can hear what they're saying, take stock in it, and genuinely reflect what you need to do to move forward, and move forward in a way that's not just an emotional, oh, not me, I would
Mm-hmm.
response, but a genuine, what can I learn from this response?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is actually the best way of, kind of like coming out and admitting, you know what, yep, I understand. And then follow up with actions that you did understand,
Yeah.
you know?
You know what? I heard you. You're right. Here's 3 things I'm going to do to make it better in the future. And there will be people who are like, that's not good enough. I'm sorry, but you weren't my target customer before. You're not my target customer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like anything that, for example, that happens when you lose customers, when they were not 100% loyal anyway. So
Right.
it's okay that, if they go with their beliefs. So that's totally fine. That's what happens in life, you know?
Yeah.
But something happened. You mentioned it was here in Central New York. There was a lady. You told me a story about a lady who
Yeah.
says, "What was that?"
Um, there was a woman out of, I think she was from Bridgeport, and she had a business in Cicero. And I don't want to name drop because I don't want to build it all back up for her. She's probably still reeling from it because it happened just the end of August, early September. When the school system started to go back, she made comments on a public Facebook forum and on her personal Facebook page in regards to whether she felt it was appropriate or not for those who were learning challenged to get full access to teachers, because in her words, we all know they're not going anywhere anyways.
Oh my
So
God.
that really upset the community that advocates for the students who need additional support
For sure.
so they can get the most out of life, and honestly, to ensure that they are productive to society so they can get a job and feed themselves someday. That's the whole goal of education. Get a job, feed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And she lost her business. She lost her positions in her local community. She had to shut down all of her social media because she was just attacked.
Mm-hmm.
It made national news. It went from Syracuse.com. The article is still up there on Syracuse.com, all the way to Yahoo News. It went, and I heard about it on the Today Show. And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
And while I understand the frustration from her opinion, because we are able to empathize and understand why someone is spouting off the way they are, doesn't mean we're going to accept it. And that's where cancel culture comes in. Cancel culture came in and shut her down and shut down her business. And people boycotted her as a person because of her personal views on a personal matter that she shared publicly, she lost her business.
Oof, which is why one of your suggestion is keep your personal.
Right. Right.
And you guys, for if you want to have Amanda has created a cute little it's kind of like a brochure, right? But it's really cute and simple
I'll,
with all the steps. So she has it available if you want to. You just have to email her. Let me see where you're trying to show her.
I'm like,
uh,
I don't know if it's going to be backwards. I just don't know.
where you so you guys can email her at Amanda Funk and Jackson, Amanda at funkandjackson.com.
Yes.
So, and she will make it available for you. It's really cute. So,
Yes.
okay, Amanda. So, anything else to close that you want to say to all of us individuals and small businesses?
Yes. I think I'm going to stick with your social media is not your personal journal. So don't use it like that.
Those groups, Facebook groups, right? That they say, oh, we're private, only members can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, only members can see it, but members have also the ability to screenshot and send
Yeah.
it to non members.
Right. And I'll be honest, I'm in some of those groups too because I'm a highly politically motivated person. I thrive on politics. And part of politics is social discourse, a civil back and forth, where if someone doesn't share my opinion on a certain policy or candidate or legislation piece, it could get heated. But I'm always personally, very personally, intentful at never attacking the person, but only discussing the ideas.
And that is where it should be. And that's where it should be. And it leads us to yeah, it is hard. But that leads us to our next topic. Amanda is going to be our guest again on our next series, and we're going to be discussing not necessarily politics, but the idea behind the election. Amanda, do you want to say something about that?
We're going to talk a little bit about how to prepare your business for the election season because a lot is going to start happening in the next couple weeks that may impact the way your business is able to reach their audience, and you need to be prepared for it.
And I can wait for you to share that information because me as a small business owner, and when you're sharing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, those are great points, and that is something that is not far fetched. You know,
No, we're going to talk about maybe 3 or 5 things that you individually as a business owner can do today to prepare you for November, December, and January.
oh my goodness. Yes. All right. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. But for you to be informed of this and notified when this content comes up, you need to actually follow me. And you can connect with me right here, Anna Hill. I'm on LinkedIn. I am also on Facebook as Officially-Unofficial TV, and I am also on Instagram. So you can connect on all of those channels. Also, Amanda, do you want to tell them about your, like, how did they find your website?
Oh, I'm pretty Googleable at this point. I have a website. It's funkandjackson.com. You can follow me on Facebook at funkandjackson. You can tweet me at Mrs. A Funk. I rarely am on Twitter. I'll be honest. I check it for news and then I'm out because it's too noisy. Or, or I'm on LinkedIn and I'm actually on TikTok too because TikTok's fun. That's my fun platform.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode. Remember to connect so that you can be notified when we come up with the next content, which is going to be small business after election prep with Amanda Funk. So, you guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Anna Hill with Officially Unofficial. Bye.